Hello, and welcome back to the Post Worlds episode 7 of UB. And this week we have, probably by accident, maybe not, but we have the second place Worlds finisher, the third place Worlds finisher, the 20th place, and I only know that because it's right there above his cam, and the two biggest scrubs on the K2D team. So,
Woo!
Ian, first of all, congrats on your finalist,
Thank you.
standing there. How's it feel being the runner-up of Worlds?
I mean, it was such a crazy experience because, I knew going into that tournament, it was either going to be a complete failure or what ended up happening was a lot of our team did extremely well with our secret deck. So I'm glad it was the latter and not the former. And it just feels really awesome to have not only my first day two of a big event, or I guess technically this was day three of a big event, but then also get into top eight and play against Wu in the semis, which was an honor and just such a great match. Except obviously game three where he didn't draw a card to play in the first two turns.
Yeah,
But just it was just such an awesome experience, and
yeah,
definitely one I'll always remember.
yeah. It was great to watch too, and you just reminded me somehow that I changed your name on the screen there to Aggrieved Pizza, and I'm going to start you with -5 points this week because you trash talked our boy, the parliamentarian, to death, to the ground, and all because you guys were playing Kylo. So got to start you with -points there. Uh, and then we're going to move right on over to Ophir, the third place finisher. Woo, congrats. How's it feel? How you doing?
Yeah, I feel great. It was an awesome time. No complaints, no regrets.
Yeah, happy with Quinlan?
Yeah, very happy. I think that deck ran incredibly smoothly. I think honestly, if I was going to PQ this weekend, I would just run the deck. Maybe there'd be one or two card changes, but
Yeah,
uh,
The
like,
third parliamentarian.
yeah,
I'm not
you
even
look,
sure I need the third parliamentarian, but I think I would put the third Kira in back in.
That is
I went
the
two
best
Kira,
card.
two Quinlan, and I would go back to three and just play one Quinlan.
yeah,
Yep.
you, you look a lot better than you did 4 days ago or whatever. Like I recall at dinner on, when was it, Thursday, when we had to submit lists, you were like tighter wound than I've ever seen you, and finally you were like, you know what, I will be less mad if I lose with Quinlan than Iden, and you just locked in Quinlan, and clearly it worked out for you. So
For
congrats,
sure.
that's great. You were carrying our team on your back, and we're definitely proud of you. CJ,
Thank you.
how's it feel to be the 4-4 scrub?
I'll tell you a funny story. First thing I get back, my 7-year-old son wanted to play Star Wars, and he's like, I want to play the winner's deck. So I built him the Towson deck. And then he goes, oh, this deck that won it, and you got last place? And I said, well, son, no, not actually last place, but went 4-4. I panic switched to my girl Sabine after some rough sessions of testing, which was definitely a big mistake. But honestly, I'm really proud of Ophir and the team. 8 of us there, right? And we put one in the top 4. I mean, if you told us that a month ago, 2 months ago, we would have been pumped, right? It would have really pumped us
Yeah.
up. So I know people on the internet were like, oh, KTD took a day off. Sorry, we couldn't put 4 in the top 8 of the world championship.
Yeah, man, that
Well,
that drives me
we'll
crazy. It's
we'll
like,
take
yeah,
one for sure.
see these comments in the chat. Like, I was watching the stream and people were just dumping all over K2D. Like,
I
oh, what an awful, performance. Like, sorry that we can't put 4 in the top 8 every event, but no, like overall we didn't do as well as we hoped. We wanted to put more in day 3 at least, but it just didn't work out. Our testing, like, no one wanted to just play Han, because we felt like there was a bunch of 50-50s, and like, it turns out that maybe we all just should have and just dealt with it. I don't know, but
It would have been 50-50s. That was the worst part. Like, I don't even think we made the wrong choice on that. I think it would have been 50-50s, but maybe we should have just taken our odds on it and just rolled with the reps,
Tyler, 20th place with, I believe you played. Actually, I have no idea what you
Quinlan.
played. There you go, Quinlan.
I had similar ideas with Ophir. Deck was perfect. I would totally run it back this weekend. see how Force Throw ends up, but it worked great for me.
Nice.
I also had a very interesting weekend, and I only played a single Force base the entirety of those 2 days, so
That's
it was
pretty
fun.
crazy.
That's crazy.
weird.
I played against 8. So I mean, I played 8 rounds, and it was 5 Han 2s, 1 Anakin, 1 Quinlan, and 1 Talzin. So that's about how it goes.
I got a lot of Tarkin Town. I played 2 Quinlans and 2 Cads, so
Yeah, crazy. So we're going to jump right into the first topic here, and that's just where we're going to cover basically what we thought the event would look like. A few weeks ago, we were here, at least 3 of the 4 of us, and we discussed what we thought things would look like. Uh, Looking back, I believe that most of us said that Han 2 Blue would probably win the event, or at least the Force deck, and it turns out we were at least half right. A Force deck did win. There were 6 in the top 8. It's not much else to say about that. We'll start with Ian here. Ian, what do you think? I mean, were we right? Were we wrong? Were we close enough? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so like the entire time we were doing this show, I was working on this Kylo deck, so it was like hard for me to tell you how I thought. But like we built that deck to beat Han 2 Blue, and we had like a 70% win rate against it, I think, across the weekend. So like for us, the game plan was hope that people are playing Han 2 Blue, because it seemed to me like if you didn't have a good counter deck, then that is the best deck. Uh, and obviously, if your counter deck can't beat anything else, then it's not really a good deck, anyways. So yeah, and I mean, I think we were correct. I mean, it was what 23% or something like that in day 3. Like it was clearly the most played deck. It was interesting to see like the different versions that people brought. I know the secret guys had like daughters main. Um, I don't think they played any like off aspect things to turn on Anakin unit, but then I played against some people that were running like 3 Force Lightnings.
It
I know
chokes. Yeah.
I know like the teammates I had on my team who decided to just run Hantu Blue because they liked the deck and thought it was still well positioned and obviously like just a good 4-star deck, and you can scam people out with Ogdo Bogdo and Grogu. Like they were running 3 Force Lightnings and 2 powers because we were just all super high on Anakin unit.
Yeah.
Which obviously was also in the Kylo deck, right? Like we all kind of agreed that Anakin unit was like one of the best cards from this set, and if you could turn him on in a way that didn't kind of impact your game plan into most decks, then you should try to just run the out of aspect cards because most of them were fine. And like scamming people with Power of the Dark Side out of aspect probably would have worked a lot more if it wasn't open deck lists. So like that kind of was a downside for that stuff. But like overall, I think we kind of nailed the meta.
Yeah.
Talzin was the second most played, I think, starting in day 1. I don't know if that was for day 2 and 3, but like it was obviously a very largely represented deck, and then ended up winning as well. So
Yeah. I think the Force decks were around 40% of the overall meta, if I recall from the day
force
2.
base or like force throw decks.
Force base. Yeah, I think Force
Okay.
base
Yeah,
was
yeah.
around 40%. Tyler, what do you think? I think you had said Han 2 would maybe win the event.
yeah, I think I pivoted like last second and like said like a Yoda or like a counter deck. It felt similarly in testing that I think that the counters to beat Han were actually can be pretty good. Quinlan kept showing in all my testing that it was going to be great, and it continued because I kept just killing all of the decks that were there to beat Han. My day 3 opponents were a Yoda red, which is the only Force deck I played against, and I destroyed him. It was the fastest 2-0 of the entire weekend. And then Quinlan, player who did not really know how the mirror worked, and I steamrolled him as well.
Nice.
And yeah, I still think Hantu is good. It brought a lot of people up. It definitely was the best. I don't know what I'm doing. Let's just bring this thing in. And it probably just scammed a lot of people out of wins. But I do think that the meta allowed more spice to actually flow. Like the Kylo deck was really nice. If we didn't get open deck lists, it could have been a lot different. And I'll tell you what, it definitely helped me a lot in the 2 matches I had.
Yeah, we'll talk about the open deck list stuff later. CJ, what do you think about the event overall? I think you maybe said Han would win as well, but I think you were also playing Han at the time.
Yeah, I was playing Han, and Talzin obviously did great, and I want to say congratulations to Benton and the Enigma boys. Great showing, right? They played that deck really well, and obviously BN, right? You guys came up with that awesome Kylo deck, which is really cool to see. But overall, I think Forso was really powerful. And you know, ultimately, I look back and I didn't do so well, but I'm really proud of myself and you, John, and the boys for starting the team K2D that allowed Wu to be so good at this game and to win. But just kidding. I'm really happy for how the tournament came out, and I think honestly we were pretty spot on what the meta would look like. We didn't know some of the sneaky decks, but we knew Talzin was powerful. The one thing we didn't know was how it would beat the hard control decks. That's where we struggled with it in our testing, and they figured out a good plan. Right? I don't know if it really improved that matchup a ton, but it definitely gave them some extra margin. Right, with the additional burn they were playing in a few other key pieces. So
Yeah, we
Yeah, I mean, other than kind of the hidden Kylo Red deck, basically everything I expected to be there was there, in kind of the numbers around the approximate numbers, right? Han being the most, it was about a fifth to a quarter, especially in day two. It did shrink a little going into day three because it was kind of under converting there. But then, like day one, I think Vader pilot was the second highest. Not surprised that an aggro deck was very highly represented early on. It also kind of under converted throughout the days. Sabine actually had a pretty good conversion rate from day one to day two. So like these linear aggressive decks that just kind of make you respond to them did well early on. And yeah, but then we saw like Talzin and Quinlan were like 3 and 4 on day three, or 2 and 3, something like that. Maybe Cad Bane was a little underplayed compared to what I thought it would be. But yeah, and Kylo Data Vault, which is the Kylo deck that I expected to be more prominent, actually was early on in the tournament. It just so happened that one team had kind of figured out a different version of Kylo, and then by the time we got to day three, it was actually Kylo Red that had surpassed all the greens. And Control was honestly kind of nowhere towards the end of that tournament. There were a couple stragglers, a couple Kiras, an Iden or two,
yeah, a few items,
and like very few Kylo greens made it, which to me is kind of a control deck. So Control seemed to like really suffer with the Force Throw meta, and Force Throw was everywhere, but it's a lot of different decks that are kind of getting propped up by it. So yeah, like overall, think I kind of had a good eye for what was going to be there, and it was cool to see like something come out of left field in a way. Like it hasn't really happened at a major tournament yet, where like a deck that I really like didn't even consider showed up, did really well, made it in the top 8. But on the topic of Han, though, I will say like I still think that deck is kind of broken in a sense. It's just not Django levels of broken, which means that when the entire world thinks it's going to be the best deck and everyone is teching against it, it's not going to hold the win rate that something like Django did. It's not that absurd. And now maybe it'll start doing a little better if people like have to start putting weird sideboard cards in for Kylo or whatever it may be, and can't all just like, oh, let's just play every ambush unit in our Quinlan deck, or like every like all this Tarkin Town stuff. And not that I think like Quinlan or Cad or Talzin are like counter decks to Han specifically, but they all like have game and they're all being teched for Han specifically. And we'll see if like that kind of shifts now, assuming Force Throw does not go anywhere, if Han can kind of like recover a little bit of its dominance.
Yeah, and I do want to give CJ some credit. You mentioned Kylo, and CJ showed us. I think this was like yesterday. He's like, here, guys, look, here's the list that I showed you guys back like July 7th, and it was like Kylo Red with all the stuff. Now, granted, it was like 20 cards different from the BN list because we didn't take the time to like totally refine it, but I feel like every team at least had some version of a Kylo Red deck that they probably either gave up on early or, tried at some point. So good on them.
Real quick on
Yeah,
the like Han 2 thing too, and like the Django levels, because I think it's a good point that we brought up. I almost wonder if it's because like Han 2 as a leader ability isn't like super broken, because there is the downside to cheating out a card early, right?
Mhm.
Like you have the damage on your unit and stuff, where it's like only upside with Django, right? Like tapping a unit down with the free ping effects that you get from your units is just so above rate on what a leader can give. And it also flipped into like a decent body where like one of the downsides of playing Han 2 is that your leader's a 3/6 that really doesn't do much.
And the leader ability doesn't become better, right? Yes, you can go
Right,
wider
right.
on flip, but that's not what it's currently doing. Whereas Django became just in a monster once flipped.
Yeah.
It was just tap everything, right? With the
Yeah.
cards. So
So it's almost really just like the force cards with force throw being in the meta. Like that's really what carries the deck. And that's why other decks like Anakin and Yoda, which basically shared a lot of the same cards, were still performing at decent levels. And some people decided to bring those as well, which is like an interesting thing because we didn't have that with Django. There wasn't like another leader that you could just shove like War Juggernauts into and have the similar effect.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I
Maybe
I
with
agree.
TDR, like TDR, you could play in a bunch of decks, but
Yeah.
that's also why that card's banned too, right?
Yeah, we'll see
for
what they
good-
decide to
good
do.
reason.
I mean, I don't know, but we'll see. So moving on is the next topic. We're just going to talk about Kylo Ren as a whole. It overperformed in my mind, not just the red version, but like ECL. I saw a ton of those. I saw a ton of Data Vault. I don't think that the conversion rate was great for Data Vault, but they were still definitely there, more than I expected. CJ, do you think that Kylo is going to continue to be more popular as the season goes on, or
Oh,
do you think that it might just get countered out?
I don't know if it'll get countered out, but it definitely won't be as prevalent. And the reason I say that is because I think we all, and I think even he will attest to this, like I think we all tested Kylo in all a bunch of different colors, and we realized its strengths, right? It was really good into the force decks, very powerful into some of the mid-range strategies, right? Struggled into the heavy aggro stuff, right? To an extent, which we did not expect a lot of, and we didn't see a ton of, right? And of course there is some sideboard cards that definitely hurt the strategy. So I think as the meta shifts, right? Because I think it will shift a little bit. It'll be interesting to see. Your point earlier about Han Blue coming back a little bit, I think it might because it is so powerful. And if people do switch to the Sabines, the lower to the ground strategies, which Han does do really well against right now, the blue version anyway, I do think we might see a little bit of leveling off. I do still think, there's some problems, and I think if you look at the cards that are really good in the Kylo decks, we played red. What did we get? We got Force Throw. Okay, we played blue, right? Because we're Kylo, we get Anakin, and we get both villain and hero cards in it. And those are the two most powerful cards in the whole game right now, I would say. So you get access to both of those, which is amazing. So it's a very powerful deck, good strategy. I think we'll see a bunch of it. But I do think we'll see more of our aggrieved parliamentarian. And I do think it's not an easy deck to pilot. Like, I don't think a lot of people will get in there with no reps and be able to win as many matchups
Yeah,
as Ian and company did.
I agree with that. Tyler, what do you think about Kylo?
Yeah. Of a similar note, I'm really happy that a Kylo deck did well, especially this kind of combo Voltron. It was in our early testing. We did a yellow Kylo, and we loved it. It was a lot of fun, but it lost so badly into Sabine that we just immediately shelved it. So I'm glad that the turn one plays for the Kylo talking down actually gave it merit in that. And I'm intrigued to see how it goes, especially with, if everything doesn't change, I can see Kylo ticking up. I think it's still a good deck. I think that people need to have practice on it, and I think it's also the opposite way around. If you have practice into it, you will also do a lot better on a lot of decks. So it's going to be really dependent on how much practice people get on both sides of the matchup, because I can see that either playing aggro or playing Kylo are two good things to play for at least this weekend, at least in Gen Con, if we see that nothing's going to be changing for this weekend. But we will see what people decide on. It may be just simpler to go play aggro, and then we then just see Han come and sweep this up. Then people will try to take the more harder, difficult deck in Kylo. I can also then still see the common, like Han beaters, like the Anakins and stuff, still show in good merit, just because of how valued those were.
Yeah. So Ophir, what do you think about Kylo? Do you think it might be hated out, or do you think it might keep, growing in
Yeah.
popularity?
I don't think it'll be hated out. I don't think the sideboard card, specifically like Parliamentarian, is like, I play this, I insta win, right? I played the card because I think it's very good against Kylo, but it has to be in conjunction with something else. You basically have to be pressuring this deck, green or red. Honestly, it's not going to just be like you can put this in your control deck and play it. It's not going to matter in that sense. You have to be aggressive because it's giving you like a turn or two to like close the door because they're just going to keep putting upgrades back in their discard pile afterwards. So that, I don't think it's just like as simple as you put 3 of these and you can't lose to Kylo anymore. I do think that the Kylo Green deck, though, actually underperformed a little bit to my expectation. Now, I wasn't incredibly high on the deck. I think it is powerful. My issue with it was that I didn't think its matchup into like the mid-range decks was good enough to warrant punting aggro, essentially. And that's kind of where I stood on that. Like, yes, maybe it was a little favored into Han Blue, but not enough in my mind to really suggest that it would be like great into a wide field. I also wasn't sure entirely how it would perform into like hard control or even like Kira soft control, because its top end, especially the ECL version, is like 2 Avengers and there's like nothing else in the deck really. So sure, like you do something cool with Kylo, but like control decks kill him, and then what? They have like 14 threats and you have 2 left in your deck. But the Kylo Red, I think, is actually going to be a little more durable because it's not a control deck. It's an aggro deck, kind of. And it's not like against control decks. I think they can probably OTK, even through like 30 health, I'd imagine late in the game could probably do that. So I think it's going to be a little more durable, but I don't think it's going to be as smooth sailing for Kylo going forward.
Yeah, so I think that the like the Kylo Green versions can actually probably, like alter their deck to beat the Kylo Red versions by playing the Parliamentarian, because if the game goes really long and you drop a turn, 6 or 7 aggrieved, then they have what 6 turns worth of discard or of upgrades that they shuffle back in, and it takes time to build up to do 30 damage in one shot.
Exactly.
So we'll have to see how that goes in the future. Ian, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the whole purpose of the deck that we brought was that we thought it was only good if people didn't know that we were playing it. Because what we found in testing was that every single time we would play against a new teammate who hadn't played against the deck before, like even if they had our deck list, but they just hadn't had the reps into it, it would be really easy for us to win. But then, and these are good players, right? Like I would play Cluis, Tetra, on Quinlan, and the first like 5 games I played against him, I won. And then all of our Quinlan players would like 5-head a game against me, and I would get steamrolled. And then that would happen 5 times in a row. So it was like very apparent that not only did like the person piloting the Kylo Red deck need a lot of reps to know how to play into a lot of these decks, especially piloted by good players, but it was also like you really needed them to not know what you were doing, because it's a lot of the like failings of the deck is if your opponent knows what to do, like what to play around, how to play into certain like upgrade lines that we do, when to pressure at the right time, things like that. Like those all can backfire on the Kylo deck because it is a combo deck at the end of the day. Like you're winning with the Kylo hit, and if he dies at any point before attacking twice, usually, you lose the game. You don't really have any way to come back unless you have like the extra burn damage, which we opted to have in our sideboard for the tournament, like the Ruthless Raiders and the Devastators. So yeah, I mean, specifically the Kylo Red deck, I think will probably fall off a little bit, especially now that like everybody's playing it on Petra and all the other online platforms. Like people are going to get games into it, they're going to know how to play against it, and unless you also have jammed like 1,000 games of the deck, it's going to be really hard for you to be able to win. And especially with the hate, like Ophir had mentioned, like the agreed parliamentarian isn't always going to win you the game, but if you apply pressure with it, it's a good recipe for success. And I think it hurts the red deck more than the green decks, because the green decks really are only trying to like put a craving power and a legal authority and just like have a 7/9 that has like a huge tempo advantage when it flips, where the red deck is like it needs a critical mass of upgrades in order to actually win the game. And if you put pressure and like force the Kylo to flip because they're gonna die if they don't have a big Sentinel, well now they're only gonna have a 5/5, or they're gonna have like an 8/8 because they only got the one Sentinel after you aggrieved them and then they cycled, right? And it's a lot easier to clear it. So I definitely think it'll fall off a little bit. I think that the green versions will probably be fine for the most part. We were terrified of playing against the green versions because in our testing, we thought the green versions were really good into us, especially the ECL version. Um, Mostly because if you ever ECL'd in a 6-drop like Vader or Anakin against us, you would wipe our board and then you would be able to flip your Kylo pretty much whenever you wanted as a counter to our Kylo, because you would like deal 7 damage to it, then attack for 7, and like 14 health is usually like the max amount of health we could get on Kylo
Yeah.
in the red version. So it was kind of like a posturing move that we figured out where it was like, okay, we need to like force them to flip early before we flip because they feel pressured, and then we can flip with like an infiltrator skill and like hit their base, and they have to claim and have like some way to clear the Kylo on their turn. Like that was the best avenue for them once we kind of figured that out. And our sideboard was like 2 Chams, a Rival's Fall, 2 Devastators, and 2 Ruthless Raiders as a way to combat those decks, because if they ramped and you like they get to do the Vader or Anakin play when you're on 5 resources, wipe your board, and now your Anakin doesn't clear either of them. I mean, you can maybe clear the Vader if you have the heroic, but you're not clearing their Anakin. And you
Yeah.
only have 25 HP. Like it's not hard for them to kill you at that point. And then they flip Kylo, and you're still not able to flip Kylo, even for like a small tempo flip. It could be like a huge like recipe for failure. I think one of the things that we found too was like George was our like control pilot when we were testing, and he would do like these crazy things. I was like, there's no way that that's correct. Like he would ECL in a super laser tech to kill Migs on turn 2, and it would just like win the game on the spot, which was
Yeah.
like,
I can see that.
but it was like he figured it out after playing the deck like 10 times or whatever, right? Like it wasn't because I think a lot of the people who played like the Kylo Green deck was like only use ECL for exactly
Like
the 6
Vader
drop,
or
right?
Anakin.
And then
Yeah.
like it actually was really good when you super like ECL'd in the super laser attack, especially because we're playing Force Lightning, right? Which can turn it off.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting just to see like the level of play lines that people can figure out once they like have their reps into it. And it was I really think like if it wasn't such a like surprise factor and people like didn't have reps into it, like if that wasn't the case, like we would not have performed well. I would not have done well with the deck.
Yeah. I think that Kylo will keep getting popular. I'm curious to see if people kind of navigate or switch to like the ECL lists, but PQs start literally in 3 days. So like
Which is
I have
crazy.
a PQ in 3 days. So we'll see. I have no idea what I'm playing. Probably Kylo again, but I might play like ECL. We'll see. So we'll move into the tournament as a whole, how it was run, things we thought worked and didn't work. I mean, I'll just start real quick. I think the event overall was run reasonably well. There are some shortcomings. Like I know that the whole side event stuff was just a fiasco. Like I didn't play in a single side event because it was like lines simulator like 2.0. Like it's just everywhere you looked there were lines for it felt like miles. The prize wall was a disaster. Like as far as tickets go, there was no consistency. Like one day you could trade in 400 or 4 side event tickets for 300 points, and the next day it was 1 for 1. And then they were letting people get 10 showcases, and then next thing you know, they were limited to 2. So I think they need to work on consistency moving forward. Um, you know, like other than that, my only big complaint was that I felt like the other side of the hall, like apart from the card playing, like the merch store, the league, the pens, everything else, closed way too early. I mean, I tried to buy like a shirt. Like I was with CJ. Like we walked right up to the booth. It was like 6 o'clock on Thursday, and like they're like, "Nah, we're closed." It's like, okay, well this is open till 10. Like, like I can't buy something. And I just didn't, get there in time every day to buy something, and that was kind of a letdown. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Tyler, I'll start with you. What do you think about the event overall?
So yeah, I did not also have to deal with any of the side events or ticket wall situation due to being on play day 3. So definitely skipped on that. For main event wise, the event felt great. It played out very considerable or close to other events I've played of those numbers and qualities. Of course, day 3 got down to only around 73. Day 2 was around 700 players, so it wasn't the largest. I imagine day 1 would have been a little bit more hectic, but didn't have to experience it. And then for at least all of the other side, I do agree that they closed the more casual area way too quickly. Because I greatly enjoyed that area. I spent Friday chilling with a friend who does not really play the game much at all. He's very super casual, and we spent all of Friday essentially mingling around in there. And he was very surprised, and I was very surprised at how much they had for casual players to do. Like we painted minifigures. You can see this is my friend's better rendition. You know, I will not show mine. It's a lot worse in comparison. But minifigures, there was a nice little Lego section that was cool to look at, and we made our own little Lego minifigures. The viewing area, albeit small, was very nice. You know, I wish I got to chill in there and watch things.
Was sick. Like we watched the day 1 stream, just chilling in the little beanbag chairs and stuff. That was sick. Like I mean, all that was sick. They had a nice kids area. They had a league. They had like all kinds of stuff. I just felt like it all shut down way too early.
Yeah, definitely way too early. And then, of course, like the worst part, I think, the whole event is just the deck lists. The deck list being revealed. Man, it sucks. I still don't understand why they decided to even reveal it after. Sure, a couple of people have it, but by revealing it, you're not benefiting anyone. You're just punishing those that brought a spicy deck to a closed deck event.
Yeah.
You don't. It doesn't balance anything. It just makes them worse.
Yeah. So I know that Ian has plenty of thoughts on this. I'm going to save them for last, just on purpose, so he can sit there and stew for a while. But CJ, I'm gonna go to you next. What do you think about the event overall?
Man, I've been to a lot of card events in my life, and I'll tell you, I was so impressed, right? I do think I set the bar a little bit low in my head, right? My expectations were pretty low, but man, like when we walked in there, I still remember it, like looking up at that stage, with the music playing. Sick, yeah. Holy man, that was so cool. And it really energized me to play. I'm telling you right now, I went into this event, I'm gonna be honest with everybody, really kind of low on the game. Like my effort and my drive was pretty dang low. And I left this event, which is the first event I've left the entirety of this game, and I am way more pumped for next year and ready to grind and ready to get after it. So that to me just shows how successful this was. That doesn't take away from some of the things they messed up, right? Me and you, John, we waited in that prize wall ticket line, which we didn't want to do, but luckily we did make the decision when we did to get in there, because if not, we never would have gotten any prizes. Which
was it like 2 hour line?
Man, that's just absolute joke. Same thing, like on getting into the hall the last day, they like let VIPs in early, which I completely understand, but then they just let a line queue for so long outside and just made it even worse to get in. And they had an event, they were trying to do that video presentation right at 9 or 9:15. It's like there's no way everyone's going to get in there, so they had to postpone that too. It was just a mess. And I do think, looking back at it, I wonder if it all started right in the beginning when they ran out of side event tickets. I think that's when they just panicked. I think that's when they were like, oh, they just started making up rules and things to do. And I think a lot of this could have been fixed with some planning. So I know they'll get to work and they'll get working on it. I know a lot of the audience that went there for the side events and the extra things are a little upset right now. I've seen it in the social media. So hopefully they take the feedback and they improve that. But the main event itself, top notch. Got me really, really pumped. And I couldn't think of a better way to run some of the things they did. And then we'll talk about the open deck list thing later. But man, everything else was amazing.
I agree. I mean, other than the lines everywhere, they have to do a better job of kind of like curbing the lines. I'm sure there's ways that they can do it, but just letting people sit outside in the hall for an hour and a half, 2 hours, waiting to walk through the doors is ridiculous. Like either open earlier or let people in once the lines start forming. Like you're not doing anything in there. Like you're just sitting there. So just let people in.
Think about all the events you've gone to, like big events, big conventions, big like the Pro Tours. There's never a line to get into this thing. There's 1,000 doors.
Granted, I've never played an event with this many thousands of players, or I mean, there were probably 5,000 people there, like total, And it's just sure that's going to create lines, but like you got to do something. Like it was just kind of ridiculous.
It almost felt like waiting in line to get your badge at Gen Con. Like
Yeah.
that's what it
Yes.
felt like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and at least that has a
on like day
purpose,
one.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will, what do you think about the event overall? You know, you were busy playing, but just from what you observed, what do you think?
Yeah, so I loved it. I mean, as far as the main event, I have very little critique. I think it ran promptly. The stage was awesome. The feature matches, the couch area in the back where people could watch the games was cool. I didn't see many judge issues. Like the main event stuff was great. And yes, I was pretty preoccupied with all 3 days. I mean, not the first day, but I didn't really engage that much in the side event. I just heard in passing. And yeah, I think it's unfortunate that people got stuck in a ton of lines. They ran out of tickets. All that stuff does put a little bit of a damper. I'll say I got a little bit of a first world problem here, but because I was playing so late into the day, I did get a bunch of tickets, but they were like mostly out of like the cool mats by the time I was able to purchase any. And like they did set aside a couple copies of like promos. I think 2 of each prize wall promo and 3 super laser blasts for some reason. That was what set aside. So it was cool that I was able to get those, but like I couldn't really dig into the prize wall with the like infinite tickets that I had earned throughout the event. So that some way to like make it so that people who finish in or play into day 3 of the main event to be able to have an opportunity to purchase some things, I think is something that would be nice for them to work on. And of course, managing the lines, the prize tickets. Another critique I've heard that I would agree is a bit of an issue is allowing people to just buy like infinite event tickets and then immediately convert them into prize tickets. Essentially, if you're going to do that, just let people buy the prize wall stuff with cash. Like there's no reason to add this extra step. I just don't think they should do that. I think it's a prize wall. It is not a store. So if you're,
I think they can't do that for legal reasons, like because then it would be like a form of gambling or something. I don't know exactly, but I know that that's how the prize wall was in Magic like originally started.
Yeah, and I get that. So I probably just wouldn't. I would say like don't let people convert event tickets into prize tickets because they essentially did just convert it into a cash wall. And you know, like I heard that there was a vendor that bought like all the super laser blasts. They just bought a bunch of like that's not cool. People came here to play Twin Suns and then spend their tickets on a super laser blast and said they had to go pay $180 at a vendor to get that super laser blast or whatever. I mean, I'm making up numbers sort of, so let's don't quote me on that part, but that some of this minutia stuff I expect will be worked out a little in the future. But yeah, the main event I have like basically no issue other than, you know, the deck list stuff, which Ian I guess is going to get to party with.
Yeah, I mean, just to touch, you know, real quick on what you said with the whole like exchange thing, like I think that this goes back to what I was saying about consistency. I feel like they only did that because they literally ran out of side event tickets on like Thursday at noon or whatever. It was like very, very early.
Friday.
Sure, yeah. And it's like,
It
no,
wasn't open on Thursday.
wasn't badge pickup Thursday?
But you couldn't purchase prize.
Right,
Oh, were
but,
they out during the badge
yeah,
pickup?
like
Yes.
when I
Yes.
went to go get my badge on Thursday, they didn't have
They
any
were out of side
event.
events.
Like, and this was like at 5 p.m. Like, you
Well,
know,
that's why I think they panicked. They wanted people to convert them in,
right.
so that they
And
could
it was
get
like a
those
last
tickets
second
back.
thing. Like, oh, we have to do this because people like I couldn't play in any side events. You know, CJ and I were like, well, let's do a draft. I'm like, well, I can't. I don't have any tickets, and it's like, you know, that was kind of a letdown. And I think that's why we're like, well, then let's do the exchange. And then they didn't cap it, and then they did, and then they didn't again. And it's like they had no clue what they were doing. They were just trying to make sure players got what they wanted, and in that frenzy, they just screwed everything up. So I think they'll learn from that. All right, so moving on. Now, Ian, go ahead. What do you think?
Well, I'll start also with like how I feel about the event was run and stuff. Like, I thought everything looked amazing. Like you could tell that they really put millions of dollars into like the production of this event. And Wu can attest to this. Like we were backstage multiple times for feature matches, and we could see like it was like a professional like TV crew. Like there was so many monitors. It looked like I was walking into like the FBI and they were trying to catch like a terrorist, like with all the computers and monitors with all the camera angles. Like it was awesome. Like it was super professional. Everybody worked that worked like on the stage and like making people make sure they were in the right place, and all the camera people, like all top notch. Like it was so incredible to see the amount of effort they put into it. Which was really awesome. And I know I had like a bunch of family tuning in to the like top 8 matches, and they're like, dude, what are you playing in? This is like ESPN. Like they were like really impressed with it. So like from that outsider point of view, I think they really nailed it. And then like everybody else said, like the things that they need to work on is like the lines were crazy, figuring out how to do the side events in a better way and the prize wall in a better way, which I think if I could choose something to get wrong, that's probably one of the ones that is the better ones to get wrong compared to the other stuff. Because like you walk into that venue and you know you're gonna have a good time because it just looked so great. And like having like the Millennium Falcon cockpit to take pictures in, like the X-wing, the TIE fighter, like those are such cool little novelty things that really add to the flair of the event to make it really feel like they capped off the year in a great way. And the other like more minutia stuff was just kind of like a a failure of success, really, because like there was just so many people who wanted to go do stuff, right? Like that's a good problem to have. They didn't have an elegant solution to it. I think actually it was C Raptors co-caster Ian, I don't remember his last name, but like he was the one who actually organized the side event line to make it go faster and help FFT do their job, which is
Yeah.
like hilarious. Shout out to him because it worked. There was like a certain point on day one where like the line for side events started picking up pace, and it was like he was putting people in order of like, okay, you want to play this type of event, you go over here. You want to play this event, you go over there. Which is just like funny to see because it's like a very obvious, easy thing to do. But I think they were just so they didn't expect this many people somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was just like a
No, but they did expect that many people. They like predicted it because I remember them saying we're like expecting like 2,000 people or 2,500, and like that was like a year ago, and we laughed at them.
that is true.
We
You're
laughed
right.
at them when
laughed
they
at them.
said that.
Well,
We laughed
we
at them. We said
did laugh
no
at them.
chance.
here's
no
a hot
chance.
take. They knew how many people were coming because they sold that many tickets.
Oh,
Well, that's true.
really? There's like a number,
But
or
it felt like
something?
they didn't somehow, right?
Right.
Like, or
Yeah,
maybe
No,
maybe
I
the
agree.
staff shortage was like they just thought that that amount of staff could handle that many people, and it clearly couldn't.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, like the everything else was like awesome, and I had a great time. Obviously, like I did well, so like that I have a lot of bias in that because like I got to see a part of the event that not everybody else saw. And it was cool to see like behind the curtains and go on the stage and like meet Jim Cartwright at the end where he like shook my hand and gave me the finalist trophy, which I wish I had, but I brought it to my office this morning. So it's not I forgot that I was filming this. Or else I would have brought it to show it off. But yeah, it was a super cool experience, and I'll always remember it because like obviously I did super well. Um and then the only other thing that like really sucked was the open deck list thing, which my whole team obviously was super upset about it because we were
So
playing
it
a deck
probably
list
looks
that
like this.
it does look very similar to that. Yeah, so like my team was obviously super bummed about the open deck list thing. When we found out, because basically what happened was day one, right? They finished their tournament, and there's a default setting for tournaments when they conclude for the deck lists to publish. And so what happened was they never unchecked the box to not publish deck lists when the event closes, because the way that they had set up the event, which was smart, was that they were separate events, day one and day two, so that the people who were in day one could get a clear record and start fresh with day two, or else like you would have a weird thing where they were like 6-1 or whatever going into day two, and that wouldn't match with people starting at 0-0. So that made sense the way they did it. The problem again was just not having that box checked. The thing that I'm mad about is that the person who was running this event was the one of the founders and like vice presidents or whatever of Melee, Brad Nelson, who's a former Magic pro. Like this guy knows how tournaments are supposed to be run, and he knows how to keep the integrity of, I hope, keep the integrity of a tournament. And when I don't know, was it like 5 minutes after we found out that the deck list from day one got published, which I had 4 people on my team playing the deck, the Kylo Tarkentown deck in day one. I got messages specifically from Alex, which was so funny because we always mess with each other. And he's like, "The jig is up. Your list is public." Like, we all start freaking out because we're like, "Why is this happening? This wasn't supposed to happen." So I immediately go over to the head judge, Jonah, and I'm like, "Hey, man, I don't know if you know this, but all of the day one deck lists are published." And he's like, "I did not know this." And then he goes over to Brad Nelson, who's like on his computer running the tournament, and says, "Hey, Brad, did you publish all of the deck lists for day one?" And he turns to Jonah, like looking up from his computer, and goes, "Was I not supposed to?" And it's just
To-
like,
To Brad's like, not to defend him too much here, but Magic does have open deck lists now in all their big events. So
totally.
and we're
Get
the
that.
small game in that grand scheme of it.
But like, how do you get that wrong when you know, like, you should know how you're running
Also,
the
Brad's
tournament
counter
that you're running.
defense. I'm pretty sure Brad has been at like all the other big qualifiers we've had this year. I remember seeing him at least at regionals, and he could have been also at one of the 2 sectors too. So like, it's not the first event he ran.
Yeah. I mean, obviously this was like a different type of event because there was the day one, day two thing, and it's a separate tournament. So like, maybe no one thought about it somehow, but like, you're the one who created this software. You should know how your software works. And if someone tells you how they want the tournament to be run, and you're the one doing it, like, you have a job that you're supposed to do. And we all have the expectancy that you're going to do it correctly. So that it was a huge bummer. I thought it was like a very easy thing to not mess up. Somehow it got messed up. And then obviously there was the decision afterwards, right? Because now FFG got put into a position where the integrity of the event is getting called into question because something that wasn't supposed to happen happened, right? Like the deck list got published, they weren't supposed to. So how do you help the day one players feel like they're not at a disadvantage for their decks being public for 10 minutes? I know that they had approached us because we brought it to their attention, and they were like, "Well, like, what should we do?" And I was like, "I don't know. Can you can you just hide them again?" And so they did that. So I think they were only public for like 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Yeah.
The problem is that when the head judge Jonah went back and talked with FFG, who's like obviously the ones actually in charge of the event, like the higher ups, whatever, they had to have a conversation of like how to maintain the integrity for the rest of the event. Their decision ended up being just have it become an open deck list tournament. Everybody gets 2 minutes to look at decks before you start your match. I personally would not have done it that way. I think if anything, you just make all deck lists published for 10 minutes and then close them down again. And if people want to go look for the sauce or whatever, like let them go find it. The damage kind of was done already, at least for my team, because most of us were running like almost the exact same 60 cards. So like for us, it didn't really matter at that point, except for people who weren't paying attention, right? Like if you weren't paying attention and then I got to play you later and it was only flashed for 10 minutes, like maybe I get a small advantage there. Or not advantage, but like the disadvantage that I had went away. But I do understand from their point of view that like just making an open deck list at this point is like the quote unquote most fair way to do it. It just kind of stinks because that's not what we had agreed upon when we submitted our deck list. So, like, one of the other things I asked Jonah was like, is it possible for us to just be able to resubmit our decks? And obviously that probably has its own problems because you have to make an announcement to all players and try to like let them redo whatever they want. And then you also get knowledge of like what happened in day one and like who performed, what decks performed well, and like maybe you switch off to a completely different deck. Like the big thing for us was that we were running Moddies in our main deck specifically for the like data vault decks because we want to be able to like kill them in 2 hits with like a big Kylo hit in 1 turn. And that's kind of like a surprise factor part of the deck that we found that was working well in testing. But obviously the surprise factor goes down when you know I have it in my main deck. So at that point, I would have rather have just had them in my sideboard and like played my Ruthless Raiders main or something, right? Like there was a lot of
Yeah.
different options there, but we didn't get the chance to change that I don't think at the end of the day, like I still did well, so it didn't really affect me too much. And there was also the benefit of like playing a deck like Kylo, knowing exactly what answers my opponent has for the Kylo flip is like really important. So like if I know you're running Rivals Fall or Force Lightning out of Aspect, like I get a bunch of percentage points for being able to play around those cards. At the end of the day, though, that really only impacts players at like the highest competitive level. Like I don't know if like people who just like were just playing for fun and ended up making day two if like they were really ever impacted by any of this. But I know for like me being a super competitive person and wanting to like play at the best level I can, it was at least a double-edged sword where like I got information out of losing the information that I had secret. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I mean,
I don't think there's really a good way to fix it.
yeah, I was just gonna say, I don't think there's any solution there that would have made everyone happy, but I totally get your stance on it. Like, I had opponents that didn't even look at my list. Now, granted, I was in like the, like 3-2 and 4-2 bracket, but
Yeah.
it's just,
I'll tell you a funny story. I don't want to. I'm not going to call out anyone personally. My first round opponent presented his deck to me, and then as I went to go pull up the deck list, went, oh, I forgot to unsideboard, even though this was the first round of the tournament. So, yeah, it had me thinking like maybe we should be at open deck list for these things.
That would be a fine solution too, because then you never have that problem ever
Right,
again.
then you're always on it, and that's how Magic is moved, and maybe that is this, and that was this, like how the game was set up early on for tournaments, right? That was like early version of it. So
no, I mean, I didn't care either way. I mean, lists are public, fine. Lists are private, fine. I don't really care. But my list was very vanilla, so like it doesn't really affect me at all. Like as far as that standpoint goes, Wu, do you have any other thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the future, I would just prefer them do open deck list from the start. I
Mhm.
think that's
Yep.
the cleanest way to handle this. I think I myself benefit a lot more from an open deck list. Like what happened benefited me. It benefits strong players in general
I was about to say
because
that, yeah.
you can use this information much more powerfully, theoretically, than your opponent. Like the one part for me that was like maybe a little annoying was I didn't have waylays in my main deck, right? I had them in my sideboard, and now like everyone playing
knew it.
infinite lightsabers knows that they can just jam on turn two. And it's funny because the first opponent I played, I looked at his deck list. It was an Obi Blue. He had 3 General's Blade and 2 Jedi Lightsaber in his main deck, and I was like, huh. This might not be so pretty. Now he didn't draw them, so that was great for me. But
Yeah.
I did message my entire team. Wu does not play Waylay main. Please slam your lightsabers.
I don't think I was gonna win game 1 against your Kylo Ren,
Yeah.
even with Waylay, so it was kind of irrelevant at that point. The post board plan was decent, but it wasn't. But yeah, I think it helped me overall.
Yeah, it's always going to help the better player, like you said. Like for me, I barely glanced at people's main decks. It was more that I could see their sideboard and know what their sideboard plans were, against uh, my deck. Like I always looked at like how many crates are in their main deck, and I did play 3 people who only had 2 crates in their on deck, and it's like how many pillages are in their main deck. Things, just things like that. So. So we got about 10 minutes left. Just want to move on to the next topic, which is talking about the future. So we just got back from Worlds. As we said, it was a great event. Overall, prizes were great. They took care of the players. It felt awesome. How do they capitalize on this moving forward? So they announced the season 1. The whole leaderboard thing got me pumped again to really dive back into this game. Whereas with set 4 and 5, I've been kind of down on it a little bit. So I'm excited there. But one black spot here is that there's no dates or locations for sectors and regionals. We have 3 sectors and 1 regional in the next 3 months. And the next 90 days, 90 to 100 days, there are 4 events. And we don't know about any of them, which is actually just crazy to me.
I also don't think that FFG knows all of them yet, because I know when we were planning Beatle 2, the most that they could tell us is if that date wasn't in contention for an event, like a major event. And
Yeah.
that's really all they could tell us, because we wanted to make sure we didn't like have Beatle 2 on like a sector in the eastern seaboard of the United
Yeah.
States, right?
Right,
Because we're in Atlanta, so like, but all they could tell us was specifically November 14th there wasn't a major event.
Yeah. So Tyler, we'll just start with you here. What do you think about season 1? What do you think, can they really capitalize on this, train they got moving now? What do you think?
God, I wish or I hope the promos continue to do well. I'll tell you, it has greatly bolstered my want to keep playing this game. The fact that I have come home, gotten these promos, people want them, and was able to pay for my trip. That is the best feeling. So I just hope that, the events coming forward, that there are more merits and reason to playing these events than just getting those 100 points to qualify for next Galactics. Because if there isn't, I don't know how much I'm going to be playing past getting 100 points.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point, is that like every non-Alex player, you know, they want to be able to sell some stuff to recoup some costs. Maybe they want to keep some stuff, like maybe they want to keep a playmat, whatever. But it's nice to be able to sell something to recoup costs or at least make some money. Like my promos from the regional still haven't sold. Like I went so negative for that event and I made top 4, which is crazy. CJ, what do you think?
Yeah, the date thing is I think where they were really missing out here. I mean, we were all in that hall. They were announcing things, the new point system, the new sets coming out, some spoilers, all really exciting. It would have been very simple to just give us the next date, whatever the next date is. This is your audience. This is your target, that the audience you're trying to bring into these. Like, give us a date. We need to start planning for this, right? So I am excited. And I think we need the dates, though, so we can all plan our travel. It's good we know where Worlds is for the next 2 years or whatever, right? We know it's back right where we were and around the same, I think the same date even.
Yeah,
so
same week.
that's easy. Like we got that all set. Now let's get the rest of them. On the promos and stuff. Yeah, I'm really happy that the promos are worth money. Not even to sell them all for me. It's just so that they actually feel like you're getting something, right? You feel like you're actually going home with value. Like I remember going to my first PQ, getting second place, driving 6 hours to it because it was early on and we were all jazzed up and pumped. And it's like, here's a case of like set 2 that's not worth any money. Have fun randomly throwing it in the trash or opening it, whatever you're gonna do. Like that was the worst feeling ever, right? Didn't get to buy, didn't get a mat, spent 12 hours doing what felt like for nothing. At least now there's a point system. We're going to be accruing those. There's going to be a leaderboard, I'm sure. And hopefully the more points you have, you get benefits, right? Whether it's buys or hotels, flights, whatever ends up being. As long as they really lean into that, I think people will want to go to these events. They'll be competitive and the game's got a bright future.
Yeah, who is Alex going to scoop to now that there's points? This is,
I mean, if he's tired, he's scooping no matter what. Let's be clear.
that is true. Woo, what do you think about season 1?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And actually, there is a reward for the leaderboard. They've already announced part of it. It's the top 32 get free flights and hotel stays at the next Galactic. So,
all right, let's go.
Now, there might be more,
that.
but at least currently, that's
yeah.
quite a substantial reward. And it's nice to finally know what it will take to qualify, although I'm already qualified. So that doesn't matter that much to me right now. But I'm still going to play because I want to play at these events. I think they're fun.
And you're currently 3rd on the leaderboard.
Oh, well, that's about to reset, right?
No, you're currently for next year because the points.
There's points from this Galactic.
Yeah.
Okay.
The points
top
from
16
this
got
100 were the first events. Now, talking about I think it was Noxum. So anyone who does care, if you want to look at the season 0 point system using the season 1 points, I think Noxum on the SWU comp hub actually did that. So you can see who the top 10, 20, 30 players are, I think.
Yeah, don't tell Alex, though.
And
I
was...
Alex already knows. He got his trophy for it.
Yes, Alex wouldn't shut up the whole week that, like, hey, I was first, what do I get? And Corey made him, like, a cardboard trophy for him.
Funniest trophy.
Oh, my God.
So funny.
Woo was 3rd. I was tied for, I think, 7th with Ian, but I think I have to give him the tiebreaker since he did so well at Worlds. But yeah, I mean, if you want to see it, it's on there.
There's one other thing I want to highlight, though. Limited is coming to competitive play.
Oh, yeah.
And that is incredibly hype for me. I love drafting, and I think this is going to be really nice. I know it's not for everyone, you don't have to go to like the PQs. There'll be a few of them that are limited. I know Galactics will be a mixed format, so if you're planning to compete there, you better start learning how to draft a little bit.
Same for regionals.
But that's I guess regionals will also be mixed. So
Yeah.
that for me, I think that's awesome. Draft is a very high skill ceiling format, and it also rewards a different kind of like a different thing you need to learn, right? Like you have to be in that space. And I will say I do have some stuff to say about prizing, but I'm going to save it just in case I win this this very important tournament right here.
Yes,
Nudge,
this 4-man
nudge.
tournament. Ian, what do you think about season 1?
Well, I'm really curious about Woo's prizing thing, so I'm gonna purposely not win now. No, so I mean I'm super hyped. I know there was
Here,
a
I'll
lot
take
of
5 more
talk.
points from you.
Nice. Second place incoming.
I know that there was a lot of hype, or not. Sorry, there was a lot of talk at the event about another card game that is coming out soon. I don't know if you want me to say it or not.
Hey man, free speech here on the
Yeah,
UB.
so like Riftbound, which is like the League of Legends card game, is coming out soon. I know a lot of people have been talking about maybe switching to that game or something. That's not something that I'm planning on doing. Obviously I did well at this event, so like there's even more of a reason for me to like stick with SWU, but like I just really like this game, and I think that every event I've gone to, like it's just gone up and up and up in quality that the FFG team has done to like make these events better, and they're listening to our feedback. So I appreciate that. There's a lot of things that need to keep going in that direction for me to stay involved in the extremely long term. But like season 1, I'm definitely going to compete in. I think the leaderboard's an awesome thing for competitive players. I think it really naturally will solve this scooping collusion bullshit problem that people think exists. Um, I I think that the point system itself is like pretty good. I maybe would have been a little bit more lenient with some of the like top eights and for PQs to like be able to at least get to that 100-point threshold easier. Like I think it's like 15 or something like that for top eighting,
Yeah, but I mean, just
which
to
means you have to do it like 7 times,
interject
right?
real quick though, is that I don't think the points matter that much. Like I think the players who are going to qualify for Worlds are going to qualify, like even regardless what the points are. Like they're just
No,
kind of
I agree with
arbitrary.
you there. I just meant for like that the type of player who's like, I'm just now taking it to the next
That's
level, and
true.
I'm like,
That's fair.
I want to like I didn't get my day 2 buy that in season 0, and now I see that it might be a little bit easier, and I do think it is easier for them since they don't have to outright win a PQ or top 8 a big event.
Yeah.
Like you can get those like couple top 8s, a couple top 4s, and like chain together to get that invite. I wish it was just a little bit more forgiving for those people, but like maybe they want it to be more exclusive. You know, like maybe they don't want 600 people in the start of day 2, or I guess in this it would be day 1. There's obviously going to still be a last chance qualifier, so that's still a cool thing
Yeah.
for people who want to come out if they don't have an invite. But yeah, like I know that that point system had been changed multiple times too. Like the a version that we saw, I think, is the most points for like those lower placement ones. Like I think or the original version of it wasn't giving a PQ winner an invite. Like they weren't getting
Yeah,
100 points.
I
So
did hear
thankfully that
that.
was
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's super hype, and I'm really excited. And yeah, I'm looking forward to competing with you guys again because it's always been a blast hanging out at events and trying to do well. So
Yeah. Yeah, likewise. And I think it was Noxum said in our Discord that if the point system were in place for season 1 or for season 0, I think he said around 300 or so people would have qualified based on points. So it would have been slightly smaller than what we had, because I think with
right, because there's no
buys there
pass
were
downs
400
anymore,
and
right?
some, right? Yeah. So that was cool to see too.
Would have
So,
made it a lot more easier for Mike and I to get in there.
yeah. So before we wrap up, if you've made it this far, I do want to say one thing about the fantasy contest. I just got a DM, which made me think of this, is that I didn't have time to calculate everything. There's like 200 entries, so I will be spending the weekend going through those, and then the show next week we'll have a segment at the beginning to show the winners. As far as prizes go, I have like a Darth Revan mat from Worlds. I have some sleeves. I have a handful of things,
I'm
some
gonna
tokens.
add to that. I'm gonna give away one of the super laser blasts.
There you go. You heard it from Ian. So we'll figure all that out here this weekend, and then next week's show we will announce winners and get stuff to those people. So thanks, Ian, for that. And I'm
Yep.
sure there's other people too that said they chip in some stuff. But we will take care of you guys, our listeners. Thanks for listening. And then the winner tonight is our newcomer, Ophir. He finally won an event.
Is that 4 KTOD wins now? 5 if you count your own?
Something like that, but it's kind of cheating because we have at least 2 on every show. So, all right, Woo, go ahead, hit us with what you got.
Yeah, so it's about pricing, and I do understand the sentiment about pricing at times not feeling rewarding in this game, especially like John, you mentioned in Minnesota, like you couldn't sell a lot of your promos, like you feel like you've actually lost money at the event, and that's something that probably shouldn't happen when you top 4 a major event. Now, first of all, I think Galactics has already proven that they have stepped up this pricing situation tremendously. Everyone here that has played, even CJ, who, you know, he didn't make day 3 and he's made a lot of money off of some of these cards and promos. Like that's good. That's good for the game that collectors are becoming more interested in it. But I do want to caution people to like get so invested in like the value they are getting from going to these events. This is a game. It is a hobby. This is not a job. This is not a way to get rich. There's not going to be a $50,000 Mickey Mouse promo most likely in this game. I don't see that being what this will be about. If your only incentive for playing this card game is to go to tournaments and walk away with money, then you're probably doing it a little wrong right now. That's just not what this is going to be. It's not really what any card game is. Like, there's very few people in any card game, including Magic or whatever it is, that are making money off of tournament winnings. They're making money off of other things surrounding the game. It would be great if, like, doing well in an event pays for the event. I think the Minnesota thing is unfortunate that, like, yeah, you can't. You did incredibly well at a PQ. It would be nice if they kind of up the ante a little bit with what they're giving out, so it doesn't feel like a whole day is lost if you don't like literally just win. But overall, I think this was a huge step up in pricing, and I think a lot of people could use a little reframe and like change their point of view, because, you know, Riff Round's going to come. It's not going to be that different. Maybe some of the promos will be worth more money. You're still not going to get rich off of them. So let's just play this game because it's fun, and it'd be nice that we get cool stuff. I got some cool stuff. I sold some cool stuff. I'm keeping some cool stuff, and I have no complaints about how this particular event is, and I hope they kind of keep going with how they're rewarding players for participating.
Yeah, well said. So that's going to wrap up the show tonight. You can find Woo on his Patreon, which I will link down below in the description. And of course, you can find Ian on the Botham Network, Tyler with McClunky Gaming, and CJ and I on the KTOD Discord. And we will see you next week.
Good night.
See ya.